Welcome back to Turtles Hot Rods. We got some fun stuff that we're going to be doing with the frame today. We got C-notches to install, rear coilover kit. If we have time, we're going to do front, lower, and upper control arms, front coilovers. And we'll get the cabs set back on the frame, hopefully. We're going to be putting this thing back together pretty soon. It's about to get pretty cool. Let's get to work. Sorry about all the wind noise. I can't control the weather, unfortunately. Hadn't figured that one out yet. But what I can do is cut and grind and weld and bend and all that kind of stuff. So we got the heavy-duty C-notch kit from CPP. You can see we got old, this is a 55 Chevy pickup for reference. No, I'm kidding. That's a 3/8 thick steel plate. The whole thing, 3/8 thick steel. So it's heavy-duty. It's made for towing because we do want to tow with this truck occasionally. It won't do it every day or every weekend. But every once in a while, we want to be able to hook a car trailer to it and maybe tow the Volkswagen to Cruising the Coast or something like that. So that's the plan. I'm going to read up on the instructions, see how I got to do this. I imagine first thing I'm going to have to do is remove these bump stop brackets and do some cutting and some welding. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm sitting here doing what the instructions are telling me to do. It says hold it against the frame and mark it. I went ahead and trimmed off this little piece. This is like the spring perch for the big springs, but we're not going to reuse that anyway. But it says to trim it to where this will fit, so I just cut the whole thing off flush, and I'll probably come back and weld that seam up nice to where it looks good. And then I marked about where I think I need to cut it. I might have to make it a little bit bigger once we're all said and done. But that's what it just says to do. And then it says support the frame so that after it's cut it doesn't bend. So I got my floor jack down here supporting it. Yep, doing a good job. Trim the coil spring, reinforcement plate, already did that. Both sides of the truck, remove 2 rivets from bottom of the frame that attach the cross member to the lower frame rail at the coil spring mount. So I guess that's that rivet there. So I need to remove that rivet. Begin bolting the C-notch brackets in place through the empty rivet holes. Okay, so that's after you cut it. So I need to go ahead and cut it and then remove that rivet, and then I can bolt it in place using that hole there, I suppose. And then once it's kind of bolted in place or held in place, I'm going to go ahead and just start welding it. Because this is a bolt-in kit, but I'm going to weld the whole thing up. Alright, so I got it primed up on the back side and on the front side, just like we did the frame shortening kit. This will go on there. I'll put a couple bolts in the bottom to hold it. I'll run them up, get them snug, and then I'm just going to go to town welding. I mean, I'm going to weld the whole thing in, inside, outside, everywhere. Well, I'd say that ain't gonna go nowhere. Got it welded on the back side as best I could. I welded all the way around on the front side. Instead of putting bolts, I just plug welded it. And I know it got good penetration because you can look in there and you can see that it got good penetration. But yeah, that looks good. That took way longer than I thought it would. It's a pain in the butt to do these C-notches, even with it just being a frame. So, I'm going to get the other one done tonight. this is what I put together. I have looked through every single box that we have from CPP, and there are no instructions on how to install this rear kit. To the average guy, that might be an issue, but I grew up building stuff with Legos, so I can figure it out. And just by looking at it and using my imagination, this is what I came up with. Now, this may be upside down, meaning these ears might need to come up and this way instead of down and this way. But I can just simply take the bolts out, flip it over, and put it back in. And these, I believe, go on the bottom under the U-bolts that hold the axle to the trailing arm. So if you look, there's already a perch down there, a very gross perch that holds the shock mount. So these coilovers go pretty much where the shock mounts were. So the top pieces, which is this thing right here, it looks a lot like this thing. And so what I'm going to do, and then these holes line up with those rivets really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those rivets off, and I'm going to bolt these in. Now, I don't know if they need to go this way or that way. They're both identical. But I'm going to bolt those on. And then I'm going to jack up the axle and put some jack stands under both trailing arms. Because whenever I undo the nuts on the bottom of those U-bolts, this axle is going to be loose. And I don't want it falling off. So I can't just lift it from the center. I'm going to put some jack stands under the trailing arms. Undo those nuts. Take those brackets off that are on there. And then I'm going to bolt these on. And they're going to be on there something like that. And then my coilover will be able to go from this bolt to the bottom where that shock tower is. Or where that shock mount is. So, that's my plan. I have no idea if I'm doing this right because, like I said, there was no instructions given. I've looked on the internet. I can't find jack. So, I'm just going to try to figure it out. Well, I must have done something right because everything fits. Bolted on there, looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the wheels on it. And we're going to set this thing back on the ground. Alright, so we got the cab put back on the frame. It's not bolted down. I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes. I have the new cab bushings under the cab. I would like to put the front coilover kit on. You saw I did the rear already. I'd like to put the front coilover kit on. We have upper and lower control arms and coilovers and a front sway bar. Sway bar is in this big box. But the brakes and hubs have not come in yet. So if I do that, the truck is going to have to stay on jack stands because it won't be able to roll if I don't have wheels on it. And I can't put the wheels on it without the hubs. And the hubs come with the brakes. So here's the short bed that we got, and we got it pretty cheap. It comes with a new bedside for this side. It's already over there under the shed, and we have already ordered a new bed floor because this bedside is beat to hell and the bed floor is pretty rotten. So I'm not even really going to pick this bed up and set it on the frame of the truck up there because I'm only going to use really two components of this bed. That'll be the front wall, that bedside, All right, so these top two screwdriver bolts there, I can't get them loose with a screwdriver. So what I'm gonna do, I got Mr. Welder machine down here, and I got a little bit of hardware here. We're gonna weld a nut on each one of those bolts, and then I should be able to put my impact on there and go real slow, and the heat from the welder and the impact from the impact should bust them loose. I don't want to bust them off, but if I do, it'd be okay. Tear it up. There we go. Well, it's raining, but we got the side piece off. We haven't got the front yet, but all the bolts along the bottom are loose, and I have to undo the bolts on the side holding it on. There's no welds I have to cut on this one, so I should be able to get it off pretty easy. As you saw just a second ago, I'm going to basically Frankenstein two original beds, actually three original beds, and a new bed floor together to make our bed. So we have a brand new fully assembled bed floor with the braces and everything in it. We have a good passenger side bedside from a donor truck that came with this bed, and then this bed has a good front, a good passenger or driver's side, and it came with an extra tailgate, but we're not going to use it, and it came with two wheel tubs that we can use. So I've got all the pieces. I have to do a little bit of repair, and I have to put them all together. Before I do any repair, I'm going to sandblast them. Alright, so we got quite a bit of rust in this panel here. It is repairable, but boy howdy, I got my work cut out for me on this one. I mean, I got it cut out for me, so, you know, the thing that kind of worried me a little bit, luckily it stopped, these pinholes here going up in there. Now, I imagine that's from water getting slung from the wheel, water and mud getting up in there and getting stuck and rotting it out from the inside. Those shouldn't be too terribly hard to fix. I just need to make sure and keep this body line the exact same. Pinholes way up here. Should be able to make a patch panel there. I mean, it is what it is, you know, and I can fix it, but it's just gonna take more time. All right, well, I've seen enough on this one. I've seen all I need to know. Seen all I need to see to know that this thing is junk. I mean, it looks fine from a distance, but it is just full of pinholes everywhere. And to fix that is gonna require a ton of work. And a new wheel tub, brand new, is $66. So literally, if you were paying a shop to do this, most shops are $75 to $100 an hour. They wouldn't have even sandblasted this. They would have just ordered a new one. But I wanted to see how bad it was, and I haven't sandblasted the outside of this, and you see how many pinholes there are now? They'll be double or triple by the time I get all the way around here. And you see, my sandblaster is not even really putting a dent in this because it's such thick rust right there. The good metal underneath it is so thin. This is quite literally just junk. So we don't need that anymore. So I'm gonna sandblast this piece, and like I said, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm going to try to get this top rail blown out. For whatever reason, ants decided to build the world's dumbest ant bed inside of this top rail. So I'm gonna try to clean it out so we don't have dirt sitting in it. And then I'm gonna blast that bottom edge down there on both sides because it needs some repairs. And then there's a few pinholes over here. It's not major. I'm really hoping this thing doesn't need a lot. It looks pretty solid, and this should be really easy to fix because it's all flat. So let's get to it. Here's the thing about a sandblaster. You can't bullshit a sandblaster. If there's rust, it'll find it. Remember what it looked like 2 seconds ago? All yellow, and there was that one little spot. I think it was this. Got a bunch of holes there. Got a bunch of holes over here. I mean, you can't hide from a sandblaster. So, it's not a huge deal. I know it looks like it's ruined, but truthfully, it's not that big a deal to fix. The right way to do it would be to cut straight down that, take that piece off, make a new piece, put it on a brake and bend it, and then put it back on and make new holes. So that's what I'm gonna try to do, but I don't have a sheet metal brake that big, so I might have to borrow one. I'm going to finish putting the rear suspension on. I forgot to put on the panhard bar. So we're gonna go ahead and install the panhard bar. And I also have the trailer hitch, the hidden trailer hitch. It will be behind the bumper is where it's supposed to be located at. So I want to get it on there right now while the bed is not on, just because it'd be easier to do. I don't have to lay on the ground. So I'm gonna get the trailer hitch on, panhard bar, and then I'm also gonna bolt the cab down because it's just sitting on its mounts right now, and it's kind of close to lined up, but I'm actually gonna put some bolts in, and we're actually going to be removing the cage nuts. Even though the cage nuts are fine, there's quite a bit of rust that came out of them, but the cage nuts are fine, but the new hardware, these little ones are the front and the big ones are the rear. You know, it comes with bolts and nuts. Because it comes with bolts and nuts and big washers, I'm just gonna cut the cage nuts off, and then we'll have a hole. I'll line it up, and we'll get this cab bolted to the frame. It won't be for the last time, because it is gonna come back off whenever we send the chassis to powder coat. But we are in what I would call the mock-up stage. We have a little bit more rust repair to do in some parts of the bed, but we're about to mock this thing up for real. We're gonna get to see pretty much what it's gonna look like when it's done, and I'm getting excited. For this video, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and check out some of the other videos on my channel on this truck. I've got a video showing how I built this roof spoiler, how I built the transmission tunnel firewall. I've got plenty to watch. I've also got a video on a motorcycle that I've got, big stuff coming for it. So stay tuned, lots more to come for Turtles Hot Rods. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.